I think a lot of people maybe aren't familiar with indoor rowing competitions, but they're traditionally a very sort of standard format. They're 2,000 meters. There are some that also do 500 meters, but essentially it's 2,000 meters. You show up, you row 2,000 meters, and then you're ranked based on your fastest time. And the 2K is a brutal test of fitness. Don't get me wrong, but it's horrible. If you've done one, you know it's really brutal. But like any sport, if it's repeatable, if it's repeatable to that degree, then it's not so interesting to watch or to compete in, because you can kind of predict going into the event who's going to do well. You know, competitors can predict within fractions of a second how they're going to do. And 2,000 meters is also the distance that on-water rowers train for their whole lives. So there's a huge bias towards those athletes, the more sort of traditional on-water rowers, doing really well in indoor competitions. And that might discourage some people who don't come from that background to want to compete in indoor rowing. So one thing we're looking at is how can we change the race format, or how can we open up the race format so that it levels the playing field a little bit, and it gives, you know, the average athlete, not just the average rower, a better chance at succeeding in indoor rowing. And that was something that we tested at the World Urban Games. The World Urban Games was a new event, a multi-sport event that was held in Budapest in 2019. And their goal was really to bring sport into the city and showcase, you know, sports that are not in the Olympic Games, that are maybe really easy for someone to pick up or really accessible. They wanted to engage kids. They wanted to engage young people. And indoor rowing was lucky enough to be selected as a showcase sport in the World Urban Games. So nice. When we were thinking of how to present indoor rowing, we really tried to do something different and not just row 2K and have everyone, you know, get up after 6 or 7 minutes and wipe their hands and leave. But we tried to do a more interesting format. We had, I think, 6 events over the course of 3 days. And all the athletes that competed got to race in 6 completely different events. Each event was testing different skills, different modalities. And then at the end of the day, it was sort of the overall winner, the master of the machine. And that was really cool. And in that event, we did get a mix of rugby players, rowers, CrossFitters, you know, cyclists, people that came from all different walks of life and all different sports competing and doing really well.
Now, let's be honest. Was one of those events the fish game?
We didn't do the fish game, although I'm not opposed to it. I think it would be a really cool, event to do. I think whenever you're trying to change a format that's so ingrained in history, and like rowing is a very traditional sport. It has a long history behind it. It's the oldest collegiate sport in the world, I think.
Okay.
And World Rowing is the oldest international federation of all the international federations. So there's like a whole, you know, historical piece that goes into rowing. It's definitely difficult to be someone who wants to make a difference and who wants to mix things up and shake things up, because you have people who are very married to the traditional idea of how the sport should be done. Yeah. So I think, like, I know you were saying this as a joke with the fish game, but it's something that, like, it would be cool to do that at one point, but you need to get the buy-in from all these traditionalists and people who love the way it is now to see your vision and to love your vision, so that eventually you can kind of branch into doing crazier, more interesting things like the fish game.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hit that like button and subscribe down below for more content coming soon from WODProof.